از خاطر مهم است که ما باید خود نگاه کنیم، ورزش کنیم، منتلی امی اعصاب خود آرام نگاه کنیم در این وقت، چیزایی بکنیم که امو در زندگی خود ما خوشی و آرامی بیاره. یا تا کده فامیلی خود گیم ساتری میکنن، گیم بورد گیمز، مناپولی، سکرابل، چیزای آسان که باشه، یا میرن بیرون قدم میزنن، یا یگانه چیزی که بکنین که در زندگیتان خوشی بیاره، چون که وقت سر بسیارا سختی تیر میشه و سر کل ما بسیاری ما از کار ما را میگن که دیگه نبیه، پیسه نیست که ما بر تو بتیم او را چه قسم تعمل کنیم. ما باید خود دمی چیزا تیار باشیم و بفهمیم که نمی تو چیزا در زندگی بسیارا تیر میشه، مگر مهم است که ما باید بفهمیم که کدش چه قسم تعمل کنیم.
حتما 100% بسیار مهم است که آدم پشت خود. And I know we've done a lot of shows on different ways of self-care and different ways of taking care of ourselves, but I really like, taking care of your soul. There's the outer and then there's the inner. I think the inner is right now, like I know my friends, we had this joke where we're like, everybody's scrambling to get pedicures because we know the nail salons are probably going to close next week. But just as important as that is really taking care of this spiritual and very deeply rooted
Absolutely.
relationship, or maybe not deeply rooted relationship that you have with your creator, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Maybe now is the time to strengthen that tie. Maybe life has been put on a standstill so that you can reestablish that connection.
I honestly believe that this COVID thing is connected to that, because we're so busy. We're so busy running around for life that, at least for me, and the things I was busy with, this COVID made me, stay home with my kids. I spent more time with them. I reflect more on my relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What does that mean? How do I see this world in comparison to the akhirah? And COVID has proven that this dunya is nothing, right? You're here one day and gone the next. It's just a matter of how and when. So we really need to focus on our relationship with God. And really, I mean, as Muslims, that's, at the end of the day, something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always gives us in our life. How are we connecting to Him? How are we looking at our relationship with Him? And He gives us instances day after day. We just have to be mindful of it. امی رابطه ما که الله سبحانه وتعالی بسیار مهم است و خودم فکر میکنم که امی کووید که آمده یگانه چیزش که خوبی آورده که در زندگی ماست که ما در خانه هستیم، اولادای ما خانه است و ما از طرف خانه کار میکنیم و ما زیادتر وقت داریم که قرآن شریف بخوانیم. امی رابطه ما را که الله سبحانه وتعالی یک ذره خوبتر کنیم، فکر کنیم که می رابطه ما کچان چی است و آخرت ما را فکر کنیم. این کل چیز در زندگی ما که ببینیم هر روز یگانه چیز است که الله سبحانه تعالی نشان میده که ما باید چی کنیم و چه قسم بریم، مگر یگان وقت ما خود ما در او متوجه نیستیم، مگر آل وقت داریم که می رابطه ما را یک ذره خوبتر کنیم.
Atman. So I wanted to touch a little bit more specifically on the holiday season and how it isolates some people and doesn't necessarily isolate other people depending on their living situation. I find that there's, especially when you look through social media and when you look through, before social media would be conversations, but more so now, there's a great divide. There's people who have these elaborate celebrations when holidays come around, and they reunite and they travel and they get together. And then you have this other side of the wall or other side of the fence where there are people out there who truly are suffering, and nothing brings in light and brings forward grief and loss more than holidays. Because if you were one of these people who was having, these extravagant get-togethers, and now you've suffered loss, this is a big reminder of the loss that you've experienced. I know personally for myself, we did have very, very close family members in March and April, and that we lost to COVID. And I think that for us, um, COVID has been such a I'm sorry, the holidays have has been such a somber reminder of our loss. This is the first holiday that we're spending without these family members, and how those family members made this holiday so special, and how our children have to deal with that particular difference and change. So I think this theme of change is very difficult to cope with, but more so, especially during the holidays. در وقت رخصتی‌ها خیلی سخت میباشد. دو طبقه مردمی باشه، یک رقم مردمی باشن که همه یک جای میشن و مجلس میگیرن خودگی بسیار خوشی محفل میگیرن مجلس میگیرن و دیگه بخش مردم هستن که جگرخون میباشن تنها میباشن یک کسی که از زندگیشان رفته باشه فوت کرده باشه احساس میکنن بسیار زیاد احساس میکنن و مخصوصا ما که در ماه مارچ و اپریل بسیار نفرای نزدیک قلب ما از دست دادیم و خدا ببخششانه الله سبحانه و تعالی جنت الفردوس بتیشانه در این هالیدی احساس میکنیم جایشان خالی است چوکیشان خالی است و فکر میکنم که سراولای ما تاثیر میکنه و مخصوصا در این وقت رخصتی از به جایی که مثلا کلی خوش باشن زیادتر جگرخون میباشن و احساس میکنن که اولین رخصتی یا هالیدی است بیجون از این نفر که دوست ما بود.
Yeah, I mean, the holidays is going to be definitely different for everyone, regardless of whether they had big, extravagant parties at their homes, or they had a lot of people visiting, or they're constantly alone or by themselves and trying to deal with everything that's going on in their life because of COVID. One of the groups of people that I am worried about is the elderly. I have a soft spot for older people. I just find them so cute. And I think maybe because growing up as a young child, my father was already a senior citizen, and I got to see what life was like watching someone deteriorate in their lifespan. Because I was when I was born, my dad was 55. So by the time I was an adult, dad was in bed. He was bedbound. He couldn't do anything. And so I've always had this strong connection to the elderly people. And so making sure that although we might not be affected like they are, if we know people who are suffering and they're by themselves, or even our neighbors, like they have a right over us, right? We need to get in contact with them, maybe drop something off social distantly, order food for them, check up on them. Our parents, they have a lot of rights on us. We need to make sure that they're taken care of, and look out for friends and family who are by themselves during this winter break. They really need to be part of something that's social. I know a lot of friends of mine are doing like social games on Zoom and getting together and just inviting anyone who wants to come. I haven't participated in any one of those. They look like a lot of fun. I just haven't had time in the last few weeks, but there are a lot of new innovative ways that technology is helping people. یگانه چیز که من فکر میکنم گروپ نفرهایی که بسیار ما باید متوجه باشیم از همی مادرها و پدرهای ما پدرکلانها نفرهایی که سن کرده باشن و اونا کلشان دمی وقت بسیاریشان نیست مگر زیادترشان تنها میشینن زنشان یا نیست تکتشان یا شوهرشان نیست تنها هستن یا در نرسینگ هوم هستن ای وقت برشان بسیار یک وقت مهم است که ما اگر بشناسیم یک کسی که دمی سیچویشن باشه ما باید خود ما برشان تلفن کنیم یا برشان از طرف هتل نان اوردر کنیم که برشان برسانه خودشان در خانهشان. زوم کچان گپ زده میتونیم خصوصا مادر پدرای ما چون که سر ما حق دارن و این یگانه وقت نیست که ما اونا را تنها بانیم یا اونا را فکر کنن که دمی وقت اولادم دارن مگر بسیار تنها فکر میکنن. خدا ما باید هرچی که قدم میتونیم برشان باید بکنیم تلفن کنیم برشان کار روان کنیم یگانه چیز است که سر ما فرد است، مگر در وقت کووید و در هالیدیز مهمتر است، چون که هالیدی کلگ یکی دیگه خود میبینه، خانه یکی دیگه خود میرفتن، آدمو چی کپام نمیشه مثل پیشواره. مهم است که ما باید می رابطه ما را که در فامیلی ما نگاه کنیم، گپ بزنیم و نفرایی که شاید که ما جنگ کرده باشن یا رابطه ما خوب نباشه، بهتر است که مو را جور کنیم، چون که یگانه وقت است که بر ما وقت است بر از این کارا.
And Hurunnessa جان راجع به پیچ سفیدا و سنکلانا صحبت کردن. ما میخواستم که یک کمکی بگویم که وقتی که سن یک آدم از 65 یا 70 بالا میره، هر چقدر که سن آدم بالا بره، اگه دقیق همون سنم نباشه، دل آدم نازک شده میره و آدم شکسته میشه، میگن که مثل طفل واره پس میشه و اونمطور که طفل بسیار چیزا را کار داره یا ضرورت داره، سن کلان هم اونمون چیزا را پس از سر کار می داشته باشه. چی باشه که یک کسی برایش سودا ببره، یک کسی اولش بگیره، یک کسی ناز بدهشه، مثل که طفل خورد آدم ناز بده وقتی که آدم پیچ سفید میشه، سن کلان بزرگ میشه و همچنان در اون وقت ضرورت داره به همین چیزا، چون دلش بسیار نازک میشه و ضعیف میشه. یگانه چیزی که توقعشان میباشه که چون اونا وظیفه خود انجام دادن، اولاد خود کلان کردن و می توقع کردن که باز پس اما پشتشان بگرده. اگه خودت نمیتونی سودایشان رو پایان کنی، there's amazing programs out there. You can go online, you can go to ShopRite, Stop and Shop, any of these supermarkets they have online where they'll drop off the groceries at the front door. Um, they have senior discounts. They have great things you can do. But you know, the easiest thing to do is just pick up the phone. بیشتر کارم آسان است که آدم تلفن بگیره، ورداره یک اول بگیره، خوب هستی، جور هستی، چی کار داری، بیایم پیشت. I mean, I think at this stage in life, as far as I've spoken to the elderly, really they're just looking for, you know, love and comfort and attention and affection from their loved ones. They don't really require much else at that point in their life. They just want to still feel acknowledged and loved, even though they're not able to fulfill the things that they were able to do in their youth. So it's very, very important that you make sure that even if it's not a family member, like Hurunnessa John گفت اگه بیخی فامیلتون نبود مهم نیست، اگه همسایت هستن، اگه چهار دو بغلت همکارت هستن، حتما اولشم بگیرین و ببینین که چی کدام میتونین. So the last thing I kind of wanted to discuss was this feeling of isolation. What does a person do or an individual do when they feel isolated? When they feel, because I think from what I gather with the individuals that I speak to on a daily basis, what I'm getting, the vibe that I'm getting is, yes, I know that I'm not alone. I know that everybody's going through this pandemic, but I feel so isolated from the rest of society. I feel isolated from my loved ones. I feel isolated from the places that are familiar to me and that I can no longer go to. As a me client هایی که من میبینم روانشناسی که امرشان میکنم، شکایت بزرگترینشان اینه نیسته که احساس میکنن که تناستن و جداستن از همه چیز در زندگی در دنیا. مثلا کل ما در کل دنیا این پاندمیک تیر کردیم، یک نفر نیست که بگوید که پاندمیک تیر نکرده، اما بسیاری نفر هست که احساس میکنن که جدا شدن از فامیل خود، از جای کار خود، از جای ورزش خود و نمیتونن که تحمل کنن، نمیتونن که بفهمن که چی کنن که احساسشون بهتر شود. So I wanted to bring that to the forefront, that people do feel very isolated. And Hurunnessa, John, what do you think are some things that people that feel isolated can can do to reverse it or cope with it or just kind of
It's
feel
such a individual perspective when it comes to isolation, because everybody reacts to it differently, and there's different reasons as to what causes a person to feel isolated, right? So what I might feel isolated for, if I went through, you might not feel it. For you, it might just be normal. So the person really has to know themselves and know what are the triggers, when they feel it. And I wish we had telepathic, sensories and powers to be able to sense when someone's feeling isolated so we can reach out to them, but we don't. So it's either we as caretakers and people who are aware, reaching out to those that we know are alone, that we know are maybe not connecting to other people, because you might see them, through social media or your group settings that they're not participating in, or the person who themselves is going through that reaches out to other people and say, hey, I'm feeling kind of isolated. Can we do a social distancing, like 10 feet apart, parking lot meetup, where I can just see another human being and talk to you for 5 minutes? That's all I need. I think we need to look at things from both perspective, because everyone's going through it, but people need to be able to see signs, and people going through it need to be able to communicate their need at the same time. So we have to be cognizant of these things. حالا وقت پندمیک سر کل ما آمده و نفرایی که خودشون احساس تنهایی میکنن، باید ما که اگر دوستان ما بفهمیم که احساس میکنه که تنها باشه یا یک کس در فامیل ما باید دوا تلفن کنیم، پرسان کنیم که امی وقت چی کار داری که من برات کمک کرده بتانم. میفهمم که تنهاستی، کارم نداری، یا فامیل کتتان نیست، مریض هستی، ما چی کده میتونم که برای یک ذره سهولت در زندگیتان بیایه. این مهم است که ما باید خود ما تلفن بگیریم، نفرها را تلفن کنیم، پرسان کنیم، چون که بسیاری وقت خصوصا در کلچر ما که افغان هستیم این کارا نمیشه. تا که یک کس نگویه که من کار دارم، ما هیچ چیز نمی کنیم. این غلط است. ما باید خود ما بفهمیم که نمی نفر تناست نمی وقت ضرور داره در کمک، ما خودم تلفن میکنم، نمی نفر پرسان میکنم. و نفر که خودش در مو وقت احساس میکنه که تناست، فامیل نداره و سرش بسیار یک وقت سخت تیر شده اشته، بفهمه که کدام کپ خراب نیست که یک کس تلفن کنه که سکم دمی وقت بسیار تنها احساس میکنم، میتونی که دمی پارکینگ لات دمی دکان بیایی که موترت از من 10 فیت دورتر استاد شو، مگر کدما یک 5 دقیقه گپ بزن که من بفهمم که یک کس که در زندگی ما است کدش گپ زده میتونم رو به روی. یکان وقت نمقه کار دارن دیگه چیز نه، نمقه آدم اگه خود بگه که من میتونم تو را ببینم و اگه می بر تو یک چیز خوب باشه من کده میتونم. ما باید اردوش فکر کنیم، چون که نفرایی که خودشان احساس تنهایی میکنن، تو نیست که ما بفهمیم از طرف خود احساس خود ما که اون اینمیالی نمی نفر احساس تنهایی میکنه، ما این پاور نداریم. اگر می داشتیم آسان می بود، مگر نداریم. از او خاطر ما باید خود ما اگر ببینیم که یک کس میفهمیم که تلفن نمیکنه، ندیدیم شاید در چند وقت در سوشل میدیا یا در کار شاید نبیاین در زوم کال، بهتر است که تلفن کنیم، پرسان کنیم که چطور هستی، چی کار داری، من اینجا هستم برات، اگر وقت میخوای گپ بزنی مرا تلفن کرده میتونی. اینمی چیزا خودش دمی وقت بسیار مهم است برای نفرها.
Atman said this, and I think also it's really important to just, like you were saying, we're not telepath. We don't have telepathic powers. We don't have psychic powers.
A lot of the world's issues would have been
I know.
eased if we had telepathic
We can get into
powers.
each other's heads, right?
Right.
So, but I think that everything that you said was very, very helpful and very doable, right? It's very practical. These are very practical things that people can do. If you do see that somebody is suffering and they don't want to get the help, you may want to try helping, be an interventionist, intervene and say, you know what, I'm
Right.
going to try to get you the help. Because sometimes you just need an extra push from somebody else that cares for you and loves you. If you're feeling that depressed that you don't have that wherewithal to be able to do something, then I think it's very important to intervene case by case, looking at the situation. And there's a lot of people out there right now who are experiencing very serious suicidal ideation. That doesn't mean that they're at the edge of a bridge wanting, there and about to jump, because that would be an attempt. But the ideation is really gone through the roof. People are thinking and contemplating if it would just be easier not to be here at all. اگر کسی را بشناسیم که مثلا فکر میکنه که میخواه که خدا نخواسته خدا زندگی خودکشی کنه و زندگی خدا ختم کنه، بسیار مهم است که شما بر از او کمک درست پیدا کنین و مداخله کنین. Afghano, I think we have this like, don't get involved. Either we're too involved or we're not involved at all. But I think it's incredibly important to know and understand that, there are times when you should absolutely be involved. And this is one of them, huge red flag, right? It's literally saving somebody's life.
Yeah, and COVID is kind of making everything even more exponentially aware and compounding the family life even more, whether it's this idea of isolation and people not getting help, or even domestic violence issues going up. And we talked about that. But these are all things that are going to affect a person's daily life. How do you deal with it? How do you cope with it? And if someone's asking for help, how do you get them the help that they need without feeling that you're imposing on their privacy? So it's important for us to sit back and think of ways to help people that are practical, but at the same time making sure that they're safe also.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
یگانا نفرای در فامیل خود domestic violence دارن که یک نفر دیگر نفر لط میکنه یا یک حالت بسیار خراب باشن، اونا را چطور کمک کرده بتانیم. ما میخوایم که اونا را کمک کنیم، چون که ما نمیخوایم که اونا سختی تیر کنن. مگر اگر خود ما نفهمیم چطور میشه، اگر اون نفر بر ما بگه ما باید چی بکنیم، یگانه چیز است که ما باید راستی از بارش فکر کنیم.
100%. و امیدوار هستم که بخیر این پاندمیک از بین بره and زندگی به حالت نرمال باشه. اما در موضوع in the midst of it, بسیار there's going to be a lot of long-term consequences, long-term psychological damage and PTSD that people are going to be suffering for a very long time. So it's important to be cognizant of that, I think. Any closing thoughts, Hurunnessa, that you want to share with our audience today?
Yes, so I think know yourself, be aware of who you are and your trigger points in different aspects of your life during COVID now, during the holidays, and please reach out for help if you need help. There's no shame in it. We're all going through all of this in different levels at different times, so don't feel like you're the only person. We're in this together. We're here to help you. If you need help, reach out to one of us or anybody else within your community, and we're willing to listen and help in any way we can. یگانه وقت است که ما باید از برای خود بفهمیم که چی سر ما تاثیر میکنه و مو وقت اگر کمک کار داشته باشیم بسیار مهم است که ما همون نفرایی که بر ما کمک کردن بتونه کچان گپ بزنیم، بگوییم که در می وقت من کمک کار دارم، من در جای خوب نیستم، اعصابم خوب نیست، از باره کارم فکر میکنم، از باره فامیلیم فکر میکنم و ما که برتان کمک کرده بتانیم هزار دفعه ما آمیده است تیار هستیم که شما را کمک کنیم. فرشته جان خودشان کانسلینگ میکنن، نفرایی که در مسجدتان باشه وارم شما را کمک کرده میتونه. دیگه کدام گپ خراب نیست که آدم بگه که من نمیخوایم که کمک رسان کنم از یک کس، که من خودم فکر میکنم که یک گپ خراب است. دیگه کدام شرم نیست. ما کل ما دمی وقت تیر کردیم یک دیگه خود، باید مهم است که ما یک دیگه خود هم دست باشیم و یک دیگه خود کمک کنیم و بفهمیم که ما تنها نیستیم.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for, of course, we are here for you. Our number is at the bottom of the screen. If you have something that you would like to talk to or discuss or you need further help, We are always here for you. If you have any comments, you can put them at the bottom of the screen. You can type them in. And also بازم اگه کدام مشکلات داشته باشین میخواین راجع بهش صحبت کنین نمره ما زیر اسکرین هستم میتونین که من تماس بگیرین بازم بسیار زیاد تشکری که اورنسا جان ارما وقت خود با ما میتن و thank you so much for giving so graciously of your time every month. We really appreciate your services on behalf of Sabai Haq Television. We thank you. Um, and
Thank you for having me. I had a great time. It's always nice having a discussion with you.
yes, we always have a great time. We always have a wonderful time, and we learn so much from each other. And that's so incredibly important. Take care of yourselves. Be well. بعضا از طرف صدای حق تلویزیون و هر نقطه دنیا که باشین خوش و آرام باشین. We wish you a wonderful day. Thank you. Take care and be well.